Welcome back, Mongo Fix. To start off, Mongo's still sick. Voice has not recovered back to normal. Mongo gotta do what Mongo gotta do, and that means fix the problem with the sump pump. It's one of those stainless steel sump pumps, 2-inch, goes into a check valve. It's got a little drain clean out thingy right there. And then that goes all the way up to the ceiling. Runs all the way over to the side. Then runs down and then out through the basement wall, under the ground over to the discharge area. Now this is pretty much the way it was when Mongo moved into the house. You've seen the discharge area. Mongo built that one insulated cover. We'll take a look at that in a minute here. But here's the problem this sump pump have. When Mongo plug in the sump pump, the little check valve thing does not go up. It tries to go up, but it doesn't. So that means somewhere inside the pipe, there's some sort of clog, and that's not good. Not good to have a clog in a pipe. Of course, there's also where Mongo grow pineapple plants, and dragon fruit plants, and grapefruit plants. Mongo's pretty sure that somewhere under the ground, between the basement and the discharge, something's frozen in there. Around where Mongo lives, we've had below freezing temperatures for well over a month straight. Mongo thinks there's a leak under the ground somewhere, and ice got into the pipe through that leak. Mongo's gonna start by opening up this little clean out area and draining the vertical water. The sump pump is unplugged. Always be sure to unplug that before you work on the plumbing of it. And then keep the cord up out of any water. Now we just gotta let this guy drain out. There's probably gonna be some squirting mess. So we deal with that as it comes. This is all just gravity pressure. So now the clean out's drained. If we want, we could try to throw a pipe snake in there, but Mongo's pretty sure it's frozen. One of the neat benefits of having a clean out right on the other side of the check valve for your sump pump is it's a really easy way to verify if the sump pump is actually building pressure or not, and if it's moving water. We're going to do a quick test and also drain the current water in the sump pump crock. Mongo's got a 3-inch 90 PVC piece, and you got to hold this on there real tight so it doesn't fly out, and then plug in the sump pump and turn it off, unplug it, before it fills the bucket. So you can see that sump pump works. She works real good. She flows a lot of water. But it's just not flowing out to the outside. It is a nice way to alternatively empty the sump pump crock. And it looks like they do have a slope in it. It's just a little slope, but there's a slope in it. With this slope, that makes this the highest point in the system, which means this pipe always holds water. And then depending on the outside, this whole section of pipe might hold water as well. It'd be real nice if there was a clean out right here. We can add a clean out to this right here. Mongo pretty sure there's just enough pipe there to cut that off and get one of those clean out fittings on. The downside being is every time you have to redo a fitting, you know, you're cutting off 3/4 of an inch or something. In this situation, you can only cut off so much before you hit the concrete, and then you gotta bust concrete out. This is that one little cover that Mongo made to keep the discharge from freezing. It looked like there's ice getting in there, but it looked like warm water keep coming out and making a little path out there. With as cold as it's been getting, it's been doing its job. If we open this up, yep, there is standing water in there. So, that system in the basement is creating some sort of vacuum there's supposed to be another crock underneath here with a hole in that 90 down there. That's supposed to allow a place for the water to go in case this top ever gets plugged or something. Or it is there and it's just clogged beyond all get up. So come summer, we're going to have to investigate that too. So it's not froze here, not froze in the house. So underground somewhere, Mongo pretty sure it froze. Another possibility is that there may not be any slope left in this pipe running out to the discharge area. Because it goes underneath the driveway, which is gravel, over time there may be a pipe in there that curved up a little bit, which could be causing some of the problem. That little windowsill area is about ground level. This pipe is, you could say 13.5 inches below ground level. Depending on your area, that might not be low enough to get below the frost line. If not, there is some things you can do to insulate that. Mongo don't know if it is insulated, if that's damaged or what. So this summer, we're going to investigate the whole thing. But for now, we got to just get that section unfroze. Mongo's got just a little bucket. We're going to push it right up against the cement here. Be prepared, there's going to be a bit of a water mess, just in the nature of what we're doing. And then Mongo's going to cut as close to the end of this fitting as possible. And she's kind of spraying out all over. So luckily we got a shop vac that's set up for wet. And we can clean all this up when we're done. Alright, now we're through. We're going to put a cut right above that fitting to get this top section out. Now we have our open pipes and pieces. We got a little bit of wiggle room and playroom in here because we're going to, this whole thing's going to get shortened up a little bit. That blade was a bit much for that piece of PVC. So use something a little softer, clean up that burr. That one, it look okay. Except for that little spot. Basically, just clean up the burr as best you got. This is the little 90-degree piece that came out. It's 2 inch in, 2 inch out. This is the piece going in. This is a sanitary tee, they call it. It's got a through-way, one-way, and then it's got kind of this curve area. So this is going to be the cement wall, and Mongo's going to mount it this way. That way, the sump pump, when it runs, it's going to naturally want to follow that curve around. And then this is a threaded cleanout. So that's going to get cemented into there. And then this is the little cap for the threaded cleanout. So that is what's going to go in place. There will be some slight adjustment needed because these are about the same size. So because we cut off, that means that one's going to sit that much closer, which means the top pipe's got to move a little bit. Luckily, there's some wiggle room. To glue the PVC pieces together, Mongo uses the primer and the cement. That's the style Mongo likes to use. The purple primer goes on first to prep the material. You put it on the outside, then you put it around the inside, then the glue goes on the outside, then the glue goes on the inside. You squeeze the two together, and then it will stay secured. The trick, of course, for this situation being, you gotta kind of line both up at the same time. Because if you get one cocked a little bit one way, then the pipe's not going to line up. One way to solve this is you kind of slip it into the one not being glued, then glue it onto the other one. That way, when it is secured, this one will line up much easier. Just take a paper towel, wipe around the surface to be glued. Mongo wipe around the inside just in case for funsies, The new piece, wipe the surface to be glued. This primer and glue smells really bad. It's probably not good to breathe at all. In fact, there's a whole bunch of warnings on here about fumes and whatnot, flammability, things of that nature. Be sure you're in a well-ventilated area. Mongo does have some baby ducklings just on the other side of this little makeshift wall. So Mongo's going to do this as quickly as he can for each part to try to keep them as safe as possible. Before going too far though, if we look straight up, there's kind of a goofy little band hanger there, probably to control some flexing back and forth. And then there's a vertical hanger here, controlling the up and down. We're going to need a little bit of space. Looks like they got 2 nails in it, as they should. We just take a little cat's paw, and we just want to get those nails out. We're going to reuse the nails, reuse the hanger, but we want to gain about 3/4 of an inch. With that out of the way, we can just hang it down, and it's kind of resting on this thing. We have that up and down movement we were looking for. It's going to want to pull this that way a little bit, so we can go back over to our sump pump, and she'll have a little bit of wiggle room that way. That'll shift the sump pump towards the wall 3/4 of an inch. It's not a crazy distance, but just something to be aware of. If you don't have that type of wiggle room, you might have to adjust some pipe lengths up here, as in cut sections out, add sections as need be. But this one has enough wiggle room. So we start with the purple primer, go around the outside a couple times, inside a couple times, and then the cement, outside a couple times, inside a couple times. This creates and starts a chemical reaction. And we'll slide this one up, and slide and hold that on for a couple seconds. This one can come up now, because we just needed to use that for a guide for placement. And now that fitting is secured to the wall, we have just enough room there. You can see that is a very tight connection to that wall. So in the future, if this needs to be changed again, gonna have to bust some concrete. Now we'll add the little clean out adapter. Do the purple on the inside. Might as well at the same time do the purple on the top. And then we'll do the cement. Push that in. It's a chemical reaction, so if you hesitate and don't get it in all the way, it may start bonding immediately. In which case, wherever it rests is where it rests. Now we have a clean out installed in place of that 90. Now that that's secured and in place, we can put our little J hook hanger back up, and we won't be able to use the exact same positions that the nails were in as the last time because of the adjustment. So we'll just pick 2 new spots, pound those in. This is a straight shot all the way out to the discharge. Really hard to see down there, but it is sloped, so that's good. The water's receding away from it. Well, Mongo's crazy idea involves a bucket to catch any water that comes out of there, a hose that's going to go inside there. Mongo went to the bathtub and filled up a 5-gallon bucket of hot water. A drill with one of these little drill pumps on it. It's really hard to see in the video, but this side says out, that side says in with the rotation that way. So what happens is you submerge this pump, and the drill spins this way to the right or clockwise. Water's drawn in from this side, goes around the pump on the bottom, and then pushed out that side. This is a positive pressure pump, but it's a very low speed, low pressure, low head style pump. But it's going to be enough to pump this hot water through the hose and down there to the ice dam that we have. Mongo's hope is that the hot water, while being pumped through there, will melt the ice. So that way it'll open it up. Then we can close off the drains and use the sump pump to pump more hot water through there to open up the rest of the pipe. So we're going to connect up our hose to the outlet of our pump. Mongo's used this pump for a long time now. It's been a good pump. Then we're going to run the pump and see when water comes out the hose. This being a pretty big hose lengthwise, so it might take a little bit. Nope, there it comes. So now we'll feed this down there. We want to get this hot or warm water all the way to the ice. And as it melts, we should be able to get the hose deeper and deeper in. Oh, that opened up a big section. Now, Mongo don't know what the pipe looks like in there. Don't know if there's junctions anywhere. So it's hard to tell if you're hitting a junction or not. But we can also take a break there and let that warm water continually kind of melt. That is pretty cold water coming out. Take a little permanent marker and just put a mark on that hose right there. And we'll pull this hose out and measure from the end to that mark. Take it outside and see if we can get an estimate on where that blockage was. Tape measure says about 11 feet. Mongo, no, we not 11 feet to the discharge. So we're going back in and keep pumping until you get all the way to the discharge. And just to note, the hotter water you use, the faster the ice down there will melt. Well, if you're following along at home, that 1 5-gallon bucket, let's see, where's our line? There it is. That 1 5-gallon bucket and that maybe 4 foot of length. There's quite a bit of ice in that line. Mongo's just going to keep going through it and let you know when it's clear. Of course, now it's dark outside, but hey, we finally made it all the way through. Mongo has never known how long of a run this actually is, so we're going to do a little mark on it and measure it out. Mongo will let you know, too, how much ice there actually was. We got our trusty tape measure. Now, the ice gave way about 3 feet from the end. Oh, yeah, and there was a section right here. It was free. After all the measurements, they're 38 foot from here to the discharge. There was 13 foot free from here to the first block of ice. Then there was 6 foot of ice. Then an 8 foot free section. And then 8 more foot of ice. Now we can finish putting all this together, seal her up. Seal up these clear out threads. There's not too much difficulty to it. You got a couple of options. Some people like to use the Teflon tape stuff. Mongo likes thread sealant because it's designed to seal threads. So this is pipe thread compound, TFE paste. Make sure the threads on each part of the device are clean. Then just apply some of the thread sealant on there. You don't need a ton of it. The downside being is this paste is kind of thick. So it's really hard to get a thin coating on there. Once you get that in there, thread it into place. Yeah, that seemed pretty good to Mongo. Then just take a dry paper towel, wipe off any of the remaining stuff. We'll check it for leaks when we run the sump pump, and if need be, tighten her up a little bit more. For full disclosure, Mongo did 3 buckets with the hand pump drill and then got real tired of it. So decided to use a submersible pump instead of the hand pump. It went a lot easier that way. Obviously, it's electric, pumping a lot more pressure, a lot more head, and Mongo didn't have to hold the trigger the whole time. Glad Mongo did, because Mongo did not expect 10 foot of ice in there. The submersible pump with a hose attachment helped, still using hot water from the bathtub. Time to get our sump pump cover thing back on. This hose is the condensate drain from the furnace and the dehumidifier. And this is Mongo's dump bucket. It's just a 5-gallon bucket with a sink drain cap and thing screwed into the bottom. It's nothing fancy. And that valve stayed open because there still might be some ice in there. Mongo's going to use hot water. And then we're going to fill enough to make it cycle again. Well, she just kicked on. With 2 buckets, it just started coming out the discharge. Success! Mongo get the sump pump line underground, unfrozen. And we had a nice little clean out for the future. Be sure not to forget, always double check, make sure you got no drippies. If it is dripping, just tighten her up a little bit. Hopefully this video helped you if you got a sump pump line underground or something that's frozen and you need to thaw it out. This is a pretty good way to do it. Be sure to stay tuned to Mongo Fix. Come summer, we're gonna dig down to this pipe, see what's going on, and fix it forever so that way it never freeze again. Well, if you like this video, be sure to like this video. If you like this video and other videos from Mongo Fix, be sure to subscribe. Mongo always working on all sorts of stuff. Mongo, thank you.